everyone. I'm Amanda Stoffer, and this is the continuation of my conversation with Dr. Fred Rundle about curriculum.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Amanda.
So in looking at the district website, there's mention of a curriculum adoption rollout schedule with more information that's going to be coming this spring. It looks like K through 2 is starting with some new literacy materials, and then 3 through 5 will focus on math. Can you talk about this? This is a multi-part question. So first, what can parents expect from this process, and what prompted this change, or is this the result of periodic review by the IMC?
This is really a product of periodic review. A little caveat on our literacy, but if I look at the math adoption for elementary in particular, there's a couple different ways that we decide to go about a review. One reason may be simply that the material is becoming outdated, or we've had it in rotation for a number of years, and we're looking for new materials that may align to standards better, or standards may have shifted or changed. And so we're trying to better align our materials. In other instances, we may have a group of teachers who come forward and they say, we know we just adopted 5 years ago, but here's the issue we've run into. This is what we're looking at. And so we'll kind of take something maybe what we call out of sequence. There isn't a set timeline that says a textbook or an instructional material can only be used for a set period of time. It's really about its utility and impact on teaching and learning that we're looking at. So in 2009, for instance, for math in elementaries, we adopted math expressions. It went through an update in 2013 when the Common Core was adopted by Washington State. And so that's the instructional material we've had in place since then. We're at the end of the lifespan of those materials and looking for new, fresh materials to promote innovative teaching, better meet the needs of our students, being able to differentiate. And so we have a team of teachers and staff members who have been reviewing possible materials from across the country throughout the year. And they're now in that selection phase where they start bringing in parents. We'll have open forum nights where parents or community members can come look at the materials that we're proposing. And so then it will go to the instructional materials committee. We chose to do it in a staggered manner with literacy. And literacy we adopted a little more recently, but the company that we had originally purchased it from with Bookshop Common Core was bought out by another vendor and publisher. And then that publisher since decided that it was a little bit more than they were anticipating, and they've chosen to discontinue it. And so we're now looking to accelerate our adoption process. It's a great time to be doing it anyway because of all the work we've done with letters and some of the other training that our teachers have done. I think we have a much sharper eye now as well. And so rather than having 2 adoptions happening simultaneously in the elementaries, we've decided to start with our K2 teachers and learners, and they will start with the literacy adoption. And our 3-5 students will start with the math adoption. And then in the following school year, we'll just flip-flop those and be able to move. So we think we'll be able to be more responsive from a professional development standpoint, a fiscal standpoint, and then the overall experience for students.
That was going to be my follow-up question. To what extent are teachers supported with training when there is a new curriculum that comes in? Do the publishers provide those sorts of resources? And also as a follow-up, like you mentioned, curriculum is, I assume, covered under the general kind of district operating budget. It's not, levy dollars, or maybe help parents understand where that is covered.
Great. So I'll kind of break those into kind of 2 questions there. The professional development really, kind of comes in 2 different buckets when you do an adoption. There's the professional learning and training that happens that the curriculum company itself or the publisher puts together. And that's really about the materials themselves and how to most effectively use them in the classroom. What do you have? And so that you can hit the ground running. But then there's another layer of professional learning, and that's really where our coaches and others come in, because there's the ongoing support that needs to happen as well. There's usually a pretty good uptick of momentum. Everyone's feeling great about new materials. And then you start to hit some of the challenges, because what we always remind people is, if there was a perfect adoption out there, every school district in the country would be doing it. But the bottom line is there's not. Every single one of them comes with their strengths and weaknesses. And then we're constantly adapting. And that's where some of the supplementing comes in from our teachers, where they're using their instructional expertise to say, here's the core that we have to work with, but it's not meeting these students' needs, or I need to accelerate that learning for these students. And so where might I bring in materials, or where might they exist within the adoption itself? The second part of your question is, how do we fund our adoptions? The best way I can describe it is we braid the funding, meaning we're pulling from different resources all of the time. At the time of this particular filming, we're coming up into our Schools Foundation and their spring campaign. And then they have again in the fall a campaign. And the Schools Foundation has been a tremendous resource for our adoptions over the years. We're also using, if it's a CTE or a CCR, that's career and technical education, or college and career readiness, there's some funding through that we've oftentimes paid for. Sometimes if it has a technology component to it, we'll use the tech levy to help fund for part of it as well. So it's really trying not to become dependent on any one bucket, if you will. And that's because of the size of our school district. We don't have those economies of scale that a large school district will have. And by using entities such as the Schools Foundation, using other sources such as CCR, that's also allows us to then put some of our other maybe basic ed funding towards other uses as well. So it's never perfectly linear in any one spot, but we're grateful for all of those different partners who help us to fund these big projects.